Hey everybody, we're a couple of meeple, and we're going to talk about the brand new release from Space Cowboys, the jewel-buying game Splendor.
Splendor. I feel like when you say the name of this game, you have to like be really,
Splendor.
really dramatic about it. Because like the art, the cover of the box is this really like intense-looking like Italian man like examining.
Also, he's like you.
Examining a jewel, and I feel like the next words out of his mouth are going to be Splendor.
So much splendor.
So this is a game that is quite simple. It's brand new, like she said. The object of the game is to get 15 points. You earn points by buying cards, which are in a display in the center of the table, and earning visits from nobles, which have certain criteria that you need to meet to get.
Yep. So each turn you can take 3 gems, one of each of 3 different colors. And if there's at least 4 in the stack, you could take 2 of the same color instead of getting 3 different ones. Or you can reserve a card by taking it into your hand and taking a gold chip, which is a wild one. And I guess we should say how many colors there are. There's red, white, green, blue, black.
Yep, and gold, which is wild.
And gold is wild.
And so each of the cards that you buy are going to have a certain cost printed on them that you're going to use these chips to pay for to obtain and put in front of you.
And then those can build on each other and then help you. It makes the other cards in the game a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, so each card will give you a permanent gem of the color that it is that you get to use every turn when you're spending to buy more cards. First person to get to 15 points will trigger the end of the game, and at the end of that round, so that each player has taken an equal number of turns, whoever has the most points is going to win. There is one other wrinkle to this, and that is these nobles. And these nobles, if you have a certain number of the indicated color in combination on a given noble tile in front of you, then you can claim that noble for its points, which are 3 points, which is actually really big, because near the end of the game, players are going to be vying over grabbing these nobles, because they will have built up a nice little estate of gem mines and valuable properties in order to grab those.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. I mean,
I know,
that's
like,
the game.
That's the game, and I mean, I feel like we should stretch this out a little more and make this a little more, exciting.
I mean, the first time we cracked it open, we were up and playing in like 5 minutes, and then we played a couple of times straight in a row. And that's the one thing about this game. Everyone I've seen, and actually what got me interested, everyone I've seen online who has gotten it and played it has said, as soon as we were done with the first game, we immediately played it again and again and again. And I can definitely see why.
Yeah, for sure. I really appreciate games with simple mechanics, something that's easy to teach. This is definitely one of those.
2-page rule book.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's super fast to set up and to get going. I think even after, like, the first turn, everyone's like, okay, like, I got this, which is, I can appreciate.
And even if they don't actually understand the strategy of the best way to win, they understand the core mechanics and rules, and sort of you can see the gears start to turn in people's heads as you get halfway through your first game,
Yeah. One of the things I think I like the most about this, and we can get into this in a minute when we talk about the review, is that it feels a lot like shopping. Like, you have these substantial, like, poker chip kind of coins that you're using to buy these cards, and it's like, I don't know, I just felt like I was like going shopping. It was like the most fun thing ever.
That was what excited you the most. You like turned to me and you're like, this is like shopping, I love it.
I know, and like it's so ridiculous, but it's what it feels like.
Yeah, well, yeah. I like it. Obviously, as we've said, the game plays super quickly. You can get a game done in about 15 minutes. The components are really fun to handle. The cards are really nice stock. The art is full bleed, and the chips that you use as the gems are like really heavy duty. They're like the kind of poker chip that like have some weight to it. So like when you slam them down, like or click them on the pile, it's just like it's just a fun thing. There's something very tangibly fun about handling the components in this game. I love the chips. I love the noise they make. I love the way that they're weighted and stacked and whatnot. It's great.
Yeah, for sure.
The art's very beautiful.
The art's great too.
In a game about glittering jewels and diamonds, like the art really brings forth the color of this like Renaissance-y world that you're in.
Yeah. I think the main things that I love about this game, not only like the simplicity of it and just the way it handles and how quickly it is to set up. I think it's perfect for a game night, especially for having a bunch of people over to play a lot of different board games. I feel like sometimes when you have game nights, you end up playing like 1 or 2 like super long games, and then you kind of feel like it wasn't a game night because you'd only played a couple. But I feel like this is one of those you could bust out and get through really quickly and like get people geared up to play like some more like lengthy things.
It's a good opener.
For sure. So do you want to talk about what we like, don't like? I guess we've already sort of gone down that way.
There's almost nothing I don't like. The one thing in our numerous plays that we've had that I think is less of a problem in the 2-player game, which is obviously more important for this review, but if you're playing with 4 or even 3 potentially, I think this game does have a bit of solvability to it in that it is such a simple game that one of the people we played with in multiplayer, like more than 2, they just basically strategized buying the cheapest card that they could with the gems that they had on any given turn to make it the best exchange rate. And they won every time. So it does seem a little bit solvable that I'd have to experiment with a little more, but at least so far on the surface with 4 players, it is possible that the fun player choice gets taken out of the design because you can just basically, if you maximize your exchange for cards, you will be winning near the end of the game. I
mean, I don't know that it's necessarily the solvability, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you have a problem with, but maybe it's just that for the couple, I think it was like a few games that we played 4-player, and the person kind of like figured it out, if you will. Like even when we all started following that same strategy, it was really dependent on what cards came up when it was his turn.
Kinda.
So it's not necessarily that. I mean, I feel like that's I feel like that's a basic strategy that you would employ after you play this game a couple times, and so in that sense, it's a little frustrating because, like, say you've, like, invested in green or whatever, and you have all these, like, green gems, but then you don't see any cards that use that, then you're gonna have to use more chips. You're gonna have to, like, spend more turns accumulating those chips, which isn't as efficient as just grabbing cards and grabbing more cards.
Yeah, but to me, that's where what I have a bit of a problem with is that it takes any interesting decisions you have to make out of it because, okay, well, if I don't want to lose, I have to do this right now, and that is not fun. At that point, you're playing playing a program, then not really playing a game. I mean, it's not a huge thing. I think in a 2-player game, it is less apparent because you go back and forth so much, so the board doesn't change as quickly as it does in a 4-player game. And I do like it better with 2 players than with more. So I think as a 2-player game, this is a much better game than with 4, in my opinion. More strategic.
It's really hard for me to have an opinion because I've never won this game ever. Either in 4-player or 2-player. I think it's because I get caught up in shopping and then I look down and I have gems that aren't worth anything and I'm like, oh, you have 13 points, I have 3. Like, good job, Liz. So that's my fault, that's not the game's fault. So it's hard for me to really make a determination either way, 2-player or 4-player. I guess I always prefer 2-player just because that's like, we play that all the time, so I don't know. I don't really have an opinion either way. So I guess if we want to rate it, I give it like 2 like big old shiny rubies.
Out of 2.
Out of 2, yeah.
I also give it 2 out of 2. I give it 2 really intense looking Renaissance gentlemen examining jewels out of 2.
I'll take 2 really intense Renaissance gentlemen. Right over here.
Settle down. Settle down over here.
Amazing.
Well, that is Splendor.
Splendor. It's splendid. Really.